Hello and welcome to this video interview. We are joined by TFWA President Jaya Singh and TFWA Managing Director John Rimmer. Hi John and Jaya, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hello Andrew, good to see you.
Great, thanks for joining us. And also just to start things off, congratulations on a great TFWA Hainan Special Edition event. Just really wanted to ask, what feedback have you had since, and some of your own personal reflections on what I imagine was an extremely rewarding yet challenging event for you?
Yes, I think it was a very successful event, I must say, Andrew, and John would echo that, I'm sure. We had over 1,600 delegates participate on our new TFWA 365 platform, which we launched at the Hainan Special Edition, and that's been a huge success as well. The feedback that we've got from a lot of the participants, is largely a thumbs up, as they say, because they were delighted to be able to connect. That's for sure. It's a reflection of everybody's desire to get together, get to talk about business, about the challenges and the opportunities. And all in, I think it's something which I especially am very proud of the TFWA team led by John to pull this off, because it's the first time we actually went live with our 365 platform, and it was a resounding success. John, would you like to add to that?
Thanks, Jaya. Yeah, it was certainly a challenge. We set ourselves quite a big target in terms of having the platform ready and launched for the TFWA Asia Pacific event. But it's been very heartening to see it come off and to finally have the platform available for use. Obviously, our aim is that it's going to be a permanent resource available all year round to TFWA members and business partners. So the hard work to some degree starts now. We've got to sort of learn to use this new toy and to make sure that it's useful and that it adds value for the members. So I think that's one of the challenges that we have going forward. But I think in terms of the event, I think there were a lot of good things, and we had some wonderful speakers, and I'm very grateful to the various speakers who gave their time to be part of the event. We had some really interesting contributions, and as Jai says, the numbers were pretty positive as well. So I think there's a lot that we can be satisfied about. But as always with any event, there's a lot that we can improve on as well. So that's going to be our task going forward.
And maybe you can just, seeing as you touched on some of the key learnings, what areas do you think you can improve? I mean, as I say, you've had excellent feedback, but what areas do you think you could look to improve on next time, maybe?
What do you think, Jaya?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're constantly learning, and one of the things that I think any organization should do is to constantly learn, because a learning organization is a progressive organization. I think one of the key takeaways, especially from my side, really is that and this is an indication of what I believe is a new norm going forward, where we see the physical and the digital merging together. Right, and I think that's something which makes a lot of sense. For all parties. Why? Because if you look at how things are being executed, in our business, especially in our industry, at the point of buying, even before the COVID pandemic hit us, we were seeing expressions of physical and digital taking place on the shop floor. And I think that extends itself naturally into the way we come together as businesses and as stakeholders in this business. So more of that to come, but one will not replace the other completely. That's my key takeaway. It'll serve as an enhancement. I think on the digital platform you have greater penetration and reach, and potentially greater participation compared to a physical presence. But the physical presence is absolutely necessary for people to come together to shake hands, to talk about business, eye-to-eye contact, taste, especially if you're in the food business and the confectionery business like I am in as well, my other hat that I wear. You need to taste product and you need to share experiences. So I see that those two as coming together in a very complementary manner. And you, John?
Yeah, I agree. It's about the one part enhancing the other, and I think as we go forward, clearly the digital side is going to have a role to play in all of our events. I think from there, I think I won't bore you with the operational details of little things that we could do better. I mean, you can imagine the complexity of an event like that. There's a lot of things that you think afterwards. Well, maybe if we'd done it like this, it could have been a little bit smoother. But I think generally the technical side worked pretty well. We did have a couple of connection issues on the first day, but after that it was quite smooth. And I think in terms of the conference content, again, there were some excellent contributions. I think it's always a major job to find themes and speakers that we think are going to add value and that we think people are going to enjoy. And I think we did a good job of that in the main. And I'd certainly pay tribute to my colleague Michelle Miranda for all the hard work that she did on putting the conference program together. So lots of good things. I think we do have a lot of work to do in order to really make sure that the platform is adding value to the industry, that it's not just a gimmick, that it's actually going to be used and serves a purpose. But I'm very confident that we can do that. So lots of work to do, but it's certainly a good start.
And obviously, there's been quite a lot of virtual events. We've had our own Travel Retail Sustainability Week, our own TR Marketplace. There's been the Virtual Expo. What would you say is the main takeaway you've learned from all of these? I mean, you've just done at your own. What would you say is like the main takeaway, experience? Have you managed to take a little bit from all of them? And I know that John, I know that you've been a part of some of ours, seen some of ours. So I guess you just tried to take a piece of all of them and kind of migrate it into doing yours, into yours. You go.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I take away from this is, I ask myself the question, this industry that we're in, if you look at the bigger picture, Andrew, the thing is that has been through one crisis after the other. When we talk about 1999, the abolition of duty free in Europe, that was a big one. And then we talk about the Gulf Wars, we talk about the bird flu, and if you reflect upon that, there's one constant that I feel is inherent in the DNA of our industry and all the stakeholders. We have this fantastic ability to innovate ourselves out of challenges. And all the events that you mentioned, right, are innovation platforms, right? They're not competing platforms. They are different ways of innovating through difficult times. And I think we learn from each other. And that's really good, because as we learn from each other, it can only elevate standards within an industry onto a higher level all the time. That's been my key takeaway. However, I go back to the same point that I made earlier on, that one complements the other, and they are both mutually inclusive. One will not replace the other. So as an industry, we emerge out of this even stronger. And you, John?
Yeah, I again agree with that, and I think what's clear from the different events as well is that we have a very rich and varied media in our industry, which is quite unusual, I think, in terms of the richness of the different voices that exist, and I think that's great, and long may that continue. I think what we want to do, and what I keep sort of hammering away to the team here, is that what we do has to add value to the industry. It has to provide a useful service, and I think we don't always get it absolutely right, but that's always the goal that we work towards. And I think the various events that have taken place have all played a role in terms of bringing people together, and I think that's great. And I think if I think that the conference content that we see from other events is always good and interesting. So I think there's room for different approaches, room for different voices, but as long as it adds value, and I think that's the key for us at least.
As I say, there's quite a lot to cover, so I'll move on to talk a little bit about Cannes, maybe. Just really, it seems, there's been a lot of quite a big, I'd say, PR drive on your side, which I think is great. So many people signing up, all the big retailers, and big brands. Fantastic to see. I just wanted to play devil's advocate. Is there a bit of a danger at the moment that the event could like just attract people from Europe and the Middle East with the restrictions in Asia, or are you confident that by the time the event happens, it's the situation is going to be better and you're going to have a really good cross section of regions and nationalities? Or is it about just whoever can attend, just as Jaya mentioned, the fact that we can all connect together to complement the excellent digital online events? Is that the most important thing? Just really wanted to get your feeling on that, and maybe how you feel that if the worst happens and there wasn't such a diverse mix, would that hinder the effectiveness of the event?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think at the end of the day, we're constantly watching the situation, Andrew, and that situation is always changing all the time as regulations change when it comes to travel. You look at Europe, what's happening this summer, all of a sudden that people are beginning to travel intra-Europe on a heavy basis. I think if you were to ask me, where do I feel peaceful about, the attendees in terms of the profile, definitely Europe, Middle East, and let's not forget North America. With the high vaccination rates in North America, the opening up of corridors for travel between North America and Europe, I feel pretty optimistic that we will get, a healthy North American participation as well. Again, for our Asian, colleagues, it is our hope that it will come, and that depends very much on the situation in terms of the individual Asian countries, and we're closely monitoring that. But again, we have this fantastic capability on the TFWA 365 platform, where we can host people who, by some strange, I wouldn't say strange, but by default, if they're not allowed to come by their own government regulations, so they can still connect with us. So, we're confident that, that connectivity and that participation will be physical as well as digital, and we're prepared. We're prepared for all eventualities as we monitor the situation very carefully. Our wish and desire really is for everybody, right, to be there physically, and that's everybody's wish as well. That we know, that we really picked up strongly in our conversations with the different stakeholders. And John, your point of view on that as well?
Yeah, I think obviously we're not under any illusions as to the challenges that are out there, and Jai has mentioned Asia. We know that the current situation is challenging for travel from some of the key countries there. We are confident that the situation will improve. We do have the 365 option for those who for whatever reason can't come to the event. But I'd also add that, as you're aware, we have the Hosted by a program that we've launched this year, and which we've had a lot of retailers sign up to. And quite a few of those retailers are based in some of the major Asian countries, such as China, Korea, Japan, and elsewhere, India as well. So there is a real desire to be there. As Jai said, it's our duty to do everything we can to make it possible for everybody in the industry to attend the event. But if for reasons beyond our or their control they can't be there, then we have to offer other options, and that's what the platform gives us. So it's a tough situation. We're under no illusions as to that, but our mandate from our members is to do everything we can to put on a successful show, and that's really where our focus is.
As I say, the support, you must be really heartened by the support and the people that are outlining their plans. And we talk about the likes of DoFood, Qatar Duty Free, and that's not to mention Dubai Duty Free and all the other leading brands. So you must be really heartened by that. On behalf of our business, we wish you all the luck and really hope it goes well. We all can't wait to see each other again in person. I just wanted to pick up on something. I actually had a question about the hosted, I think it's the Hosted by a program. So you've answered that one about the feedback, but I just wanted to ask something that we actually ran on our site about relating to the exhibitors, about some form of rebate or something that was going on. Is there any information on how this is going to be administered, what the situation is? Because we actually run a story on our publication. I just wanted to ask if there's any update on that.
Yeah, it's too early to give details on that, Andrew, and I'll tell you why. Maybe if I give a bit of background in terms of our thinking as well as the management committee's thinking, right, behind the Hosted Buyers program, because they are linked. I think the top priority was to ensure that buyers and sellers come together, because that is the fundamental ingredient for a successful show, event, meeting. And to support that as the A priority, we came up with the hosted buyers program, right, to ensure that the buying side of our industry, the buying side of our business, the retailers, right, would avail themselves to that program and be present. That was important because at the end of the day, you know, if you have the buyers coming to the show, right, you have the platform for business. And if you have the platform for business, you have the platform for a potentially successful event. So what is the next step after that? If, you know, we deliver on our numbers, as they say, for the event, because we've got the priority right, then the principle that kicks in is that, you know, we will see, you know, how much we could actually rebate back to the exhibitors. And that's why we can't give details at this stage, because at the end, you know, we need to evaluate post-show where we stand, but that's the intention and that's the principle by which we operate on. Yeah? And I'll pass it to you, John, to add any other comments.
Yeah, I think you've said it all, Jaya. Essentially, the rebate was a principle that was agreed by the management committee and suggested by the board. And so it's, as Jaya says, it's too early to give details of the mechanics of that. But if we're able to put on a successful show, then that will be something that we will look at when the dust settles after the event, and we'll be able to take a look at where we are. But it's an intention that's been signed off by the management committee, and we hope very much that we'll be able to meet that goal at the end of our event.
Just the last couple before I let you move on. Is there any insights you can give us into? I mean, it seems like you're going all steam ahead for Cannes. But anything you can tell us about how the event, might, I don't know, like maybe obviously it's going to be different to how our normal Cannes would be. But is there anything you could tell us about how it might transpire over the 5-day period? I mean, I know you can't think about, I imagine, things like the social elements yet. I guess you can't look, that's something, well, I don't know whether you are, but I imagine it would be very difficult for you to think about that. But can you just, for anyone watching this that might want to know what they can expect from the new and modified Cannes, assuming everything goes ahead as planned?
I'll pass it over to you, John.
Sure. Yeah, happy to say that. Yeah, it's obviously as you imply, Andrew, it's going to be a slightly different show this year in some respects. There will be some elements that will be a little bit different. You mentioned the social events. That is indeed something that is currently being discussed and decided by the management committee, and we'll have news on that, I think, within a couple of weeks. It's clear that the social events have a real role to play in terms of the success of the show. The show is obviously about business, and this year more than ever, it's going to have a very strong business focus, as Jaya said earlier, to really ensure that the buyers and brands and decision makers are coming together, and that will always be the focus of the show, and never more so than this year. But actually, the social events have a role to play in that, because they are also where business is done, and where meetings are held, and where people can get together in a convivial way, and that's part of the show's. It's a horrible cliche. I hate this cliche, but it's part of the DNA of the show, and that will remain the case. But the social events will be a little bit different this year. It won't perhaps have the same level of glamour and glitter as we've liked to have in the past, but there will be ample opportunities for people to get together after work and to see each other after such a long time. The desire for that is clearly there, and it's our duty to really give opportunities for people to meet again after so long. There will be some other changes. The show is going to finish on the Thursday evening, allowing the whole of Friday to be used for the breakdown of the show. However, the opening times will be somewhat earlier and slightly later than usual, so in order to give people the time to make up the time and to make sure that there is enough time in the day for the meetings that are going to be taking place. And other elements we're still in the process of tying up, but it will be a somewhat different show in terms of the look and feel this year. But the absolute priority for us is to bring people together, is to have people in the same city together doing business, planning the recovery, because we know that there's a real need for that. And yes, there are challenges. Yes, there are going to be some issues. You know, I think we need to also follow very closely the guidelines for event organisation in France, which we're clearly doing. As you may be aware, the Cannes Film Festival is coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and the city is actually less than that, so it's very, very soon now. And the whole city is mobilised, and the people are getting very excited about that. So we'll be looking at how that goes and learning lessons that we can apply for our event. But generally speaking, it's full steam ahead, and we're quite excited that this is going to be a quite unique event. And I think in terms of the atmosphere, it's going to be pretty special this year. Just the opportunity for people to see each other after so long, I think is going to be fantastic. I can't wait to catch up with you, to catch up with everybody in the press and across the world, and it's going to be a quite unique experience.
I think that is a nice upbeat and a heartening way to end. Jaya, anything else you'd just like to add to those really words?
Only one statement. See you in Cannes, Andrew.
Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks ever so much for taking the time, and all the best with the coming months, which I know are going to be challenging, but I'm sure ultimately at the end. And once again, congratulations on your Hainan Special, your recent Hainan Special Edition event.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you.
Cheers.
That's great. Take care.